pleasure to introduce Gary Allen, the founder CEO of LeanLaw. And Gary was a practicing land use attorney, environmental attorney with the largest law firm in Idaho for 25 years, and has founded a company that enables technology tools to make lawyers' jobs easier and give them a life. So, as a former paralegal in a past life, I want to welcome Gary, and I look forward to hearing more about your technology tool.
Thank you, Million Cups. Thank you, Norris. Thank you, Jolene.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Jonathan Fishman, who is our Chief Services Officer at LeanLaw, and Fred Willerup, our Chief Technology Expert. They're wearing our office uniforms. So we're obviously a very buttoned-up company at LeanLaw. I'm an Idaho native. I was born in Pocatello. I graduated from Stanford Law School about 30 years ago, and as Jolene said, I've built a nice land use and environmental practice at Gibbons Pursley, one of the big law firms here in town. Throughout my career, I've been frustrated by how expensive it is to run a law firm. So 35 to 55% of the average lawyer's revenue goes to overhead. That's $160,000 a year per attorney throughout the United States. And we bear that huge overhead burden, notwithstanding the fact that throughout my career, the profession has spent billions of dollars every year on technology that never hits the bottom line. And that technology has every feature that the lawyer needs to be able to become far more efficient, but it doesn't work. So what's going on? So I was thinking about this, and I've decided to call this the Gladys syndrome. So there are two things happening. One is when you look at the technology that's available to lawyers, it's got lots of gaps in it where things don't fit together, or they're hard to use, or they're hard to remember. And so, if you make legal documents, you have to use styles in Word, and that practically takes an advanced degree in mathematics to understand how to do that. If you have timekeeping tools that are so old and awful that half of the attorneys in an office won't use them, and they'll handwrite their time entries. You'll have timekeeping software that doesn't talk to accounting software, so somebody has to manually input all that data. So you've got that going on, and then you've got the lawyers who are kind of tech-averse, pretty busy, and for some of them, they kind of think that using technology is beneath them. So when you put those two things together, you get the Gladys syndrome. And that is, when you walk around in the law firm, you're going to hear something like this. Gladys, type my brief. Gladys, input my time. Gladys, schedule this appointment. And, so you're replacing things that could be done very efficiently with technology with very expensive staff resources. And so that's what you see around a law firm. So what's the solution? Well, obviously, better software with fewer gaps is really helpful. And right now, there's a game changer in that the basic productivity applications have moved into the cloud. So we have really good basic applications from companies like Google, Microsoft, and Intuit that form the foundation of a really good technology set. And those applications all have open APIs in them, or hooks that software developers like LeanLaw can hook into to build much better tailored software. And so we're one of the pioneers in the legal industry to take those open APIs and make those generic applications into things that work much better for lawyers. But just the software is not enough. You remember, there's the lawyers there too. And we are the only company in the marketplace that also offers technology coaching for attorneys in addition to software. And that makes our software a lot better, because we're deep into the ways that lawyers work on everything that they do. And it also allows us to make sure that the entire technology setup for the lawyer is right for better productivity, as well as to teach them to be more confident and competent technology users. When you put those two things together, you have something very powerful. So if you, So lawyers that are willing and have some skills and use the right technology can reduce their overhead to less than 20% of their revenue, or less, it's a 50% reduction over a traditional firm, or up to $80,000 a year per lawyer, compared to a traditional model. And so my goal here today is that you will, I care really deeply about law firm economics. My true goal here is that you're going to care about it too when I'm done with my presentation, and here's why. I was at the Western States Bar Conference a couple of weeks ago, and these are the leaders of the bars all the way from Washington to Texas. And I had and the thing that was on everybody's lips was access to justice. 70% of Americans cannot afford an attorney. 80% of the poor, 50% of the middle class. If you go to landlord tenant court or family law court in Los Angeles, 90% of the people there are unrepresented. So that's a big problem, not just for those people, but for all of us. Because justice for all is a fundamental promise of our society. And to those people who are showing up in landlord-tenant court or family law court, and one of the most important problems of their lives, access to justice and justice for all is a hollow lie. And that weakens our society, and it makes, it's just a big problem for every one of us that we all should care about people. So what does LeanLaw have to do with that? Well, I had a chance to talk to those bar leaders, and I said, you're not going to solve this problem with a government program. We can barely scratch together the money to provide indigents what they need in criminal matters. You're not going to solve this with pro bono by lawyers. There just isn't enough time. The only way you solve this problem is by reducing the cost of running a law firm. And LeanLaw is the only company in the marketplace that makes that an express goal. And we intend to be an important part of transforming the legal profession over the next 5 to 10 years. So how's it going? We started in full-time in business last summer. We now have a steady stream of service customers. Software development for lawyers is an interesting thing. It has to be pretty buttoned up to be able to sell software to lawyers, and you don't get the same kind of options for minimum viable products you might in other matters. So it's taken us a little while to develop our first application, a timekeeping and billing application, to the point where lawyers are ready to use it. But we now have successful beta users, and we are going into full launch of that product in Q2. We are hiring. So for my ask from the community is, if you know of digital marketing specialists or webmaster, we're hiring those positions right now. And we have investment opportunities left from our last round at what I would consider to be a very favorable valuation. So if you know anybody who might be interested in that, please let me know. So one of the things we're supposed to talk about is what we've learned. And I think the most important thing that I have learned in all of this is that your culture and your mission are critical to your company. So the fact that we've tied ourselves to a greater goal of access to justice, and that we believe that lawyers are heroes in helping to achieve that goal, has been critical to our progress. That, it's hard doing a startup, and if you're just in it to make money and you don't have that feeling of mission, you can stall out so easily. It's also helped us to connect with our customers and with their leaders in the bars in ways that we wouldn't have been able to otherwise. So we're excited to have made some progress. We think we're ready at any point to take that next step and start growing this company significantly. So thank you for your interest, and I would be happy to take your questions.
All right. One quick question is, I've been told repeatedly to quit using the word awesome unless it's truly deserved. So you have an awesome co-founder in John Friedman here.
I agree.
Who else is any?
Well, we have about 10 people working with us all together, so we have some awesome interns who have come both from Venture College and otherwise at Boise State University. We have Chase Sullivan, who's helps us with our technical coordination. Taylor Swanson, who is like a really brilliant coder, and if you hire him away from us, it'll kill you. Yeah, exactly. That was not his real name. We have several people helping us in marketing. Elizabeth Rogers, who is Jonathan's wife, is a really talented screenwriter and copywriter who helps with various things. So we have a terrific team. We just hired Zach Richardson, who is one of the graduates of the Venture College and a brilliant young programmer. So, yeah, and that is his real name, but we're keeping him. So yeah, we you know, it's like any startup, right? You have a certain number of people who show up every day, and lots of consultants and contractors who help you with other things.
And you keep your own legal documents in order, using your own software?
What's that?
Do you use your own software to manage your?
Yeah, absolutely we do, yes. So I have both a law practice and a software company to manage. So if it weren't for our email and document organization software, I would be totally lost.
Who has questions? Questions, comments?
I have a couple of questions about the business. It sounds like you're doing services with coaching and also developing a product. Is
Correct.
services just a temporary thing until the product can be the cash cow, or is that something that's scalable?
Right, so the question is, we're offering services along with software. Is that just a temporary thing to get started, or is that part of the permanent business model that we can scale? We think we can scale it, and that's something that we plan very carefully from the beginning, that we are creating service teams that are, you know, meet different needs. So you have sort of line level people who answer the phone and triage, and then higher level tech people, and then somebody like Jonathan who runs the team. And we think we can serve a large number of customers with that model. It's also just a huge differentiator for us. And like I say, we are under the hood with small law firms every single day in how they're operating, what they're doing, what they're thinking, and that information is irreplaceable when it comes to developing your software. We know more already about how law firms operate than any of our competitors do, and how lawyers think about their software in a way you can never replace with a focus group or anything like that. So we think it's an essential part of the business. Yes, sir.
So I'm an in-house lawyer at St. Luke's, and I concur with the frustrations and inefficiencies of a lot of our programs, like Word, to draft documents and contracts and the like. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to add a paragraph when you have everything centered. So that I totally understand. I would be interested in hearing more about how creating more efficient law firms will result in greater access for those who can't afford legal services.
Right.
Because we come from a large law firm. My gut reaction is, we get more profitable, we're going to take more profit.
Right.
We're still going to hit 3%, whatever our pro bono challenge number is. We're going to hit that number, and then everything else we're just going to do, we're going to create.
Right. That's a great question. So the question is, how in the world are we going to increase access to justice by making law firms more efficient? And okay, so there's no short answer to that question, so bear with me here. 70% of the legal profession is solo practitioners and firms under 10 lawyers. So 50% are solo practitioners. And they are not in that position of those few that are still left at the top who can kind of cream off everything that they want. They are all struggling with a dramatic change that's happening in the profession, where there's more competition. You know, legal budgets are getting whacked, outside legal counsel budgets are getting whacked, more people are doing things by themselves. And there's a huge technology disruption. You know, I could name 50 different disruptive technologies in law and business models that are coming out of those to disrupt the profession. So, you know, the demand for traditional legal services has fallen ever since the recession began, and that is going to continue. So the profession is starting to wake up to that and going, okay, where can we look to provide more business? And the obvious answer is the 200 million people who cannot afford traditional legal services. So you have things going on
Gary,
like
say that again. How many people can't afford?
200 million in the United States.
That's a pretty good number.
Yeah, that's a
That's
significant
really
market.
terrifying. That's terrifying.
Yeah, no, that is, you know, that's the number. And so you have things like the Southwestern Law School in Los Angeles is teaching lawyers, young lawyers, to serve that marketplace. And so we have volunteered to say, okay, and we'll help those lawyers set up their practice at extremely low overhead so that, you know, they don't have a cost structure that prohibits that. So, you know, and most people can pay something. But we're used to lawyers being $200-300 an hour. That doesn't have to be 400, 500.
That's more like
Being very expensive.
So, Brian, is that your Rolls Royce out there?
And you know, it just doesn't have to be that way, especially if you have models. Like think about you know what Rocket Lawyer and LegalZoom are, that they're, you know, these are services where you can go online and get basic legal documents and you don't pay very much for them. Well, they're not very good either, frankly. And so, you know, but a solo practitioner today could create a form bank of documents for a landlord-tenant case in Los Angeles or family law, make those available at very low cost, and then just pull in the work, you know, for people who need higher level legal services beyond that. And you can pull that off if you've got an overhead of, you know, $1,000 a month or a very small number. We've talked to a lawyer in Nevada whose overhead is 2% of his revenue. So, you know, this can be, you can really push this down to an amazing level where you're basically every dollar that you pull in is profit for you, you know, and you're just putting in the time to build these resources. So look for the way that legal services are provided to change in ways you've never even dreamed of in the next 10 to 20 years. Question, yes?
How are you going to expand your user base? Like, how are you reaching out to the various firms or individuals?
Right, great question.
How do they learn about you?
Right, how do users learn about us? So one thing we've been very successful with is webinars. So lawyers all need continuing education credits. So we go into a state with a webinar on how to create a lean law practice. I've got one at 1 o'clock today. With the state of Washington, we've got 130 some people signed up for that. And you know, we'll give them the basics about how this works, and we offer a free coaching session for them. So we usually get 20 to 30% of the people out of those webinars to come in and talk to us, and then we convert a certain percentage of those into customers.